Welcome to the mini episode of the Authentic Man podcast with me, your host, David Chambers. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that has come up a lot of times over the last 6 to 9 months. In my coaching with coaching clients, is something I guide men through a lot, is how to kind of find the right sort of relationship. And as the title of this is how not to end up in the wrong relationship, because this is often how it occurs in the mind. When we're thinking about it, we're like, okay, I want to meet somebody, but I don't want to end up in the wrong relationship, right? Because we've had some sort of poor experiences in the past where we've been in relationships that either are boring, that we feel trapped, that we feel our freedom is curtailed, we feel like it's not very adventurous, both, sexually and experientially as well. We don't feel like there's a deep connection. Maybe we find that we're with someone who's overly negative, or, all those sorts of things that come up. And these are things that I spoke to a lot about with coaching clients. I do a lot of work with various men and also women to help them start to create the sort of relation that we actually want, right? Because we often get so fixated on what we don't want. We're like, okay, I don't want all those things. Those, things I just listed off there. If you just think to yourself right now, what sort of relationship you don't want, that's usually grounded in the past. And we have this undue obsession with our past because we are afraid that we're going to relive those things again, ultimately. So we just assume that what's been in the past is just going to happen in the future. That's a lot of the human experience, right? That's like, what's happened in my past is going to happen in my future, so I have nothing to look forward to in this realm. And that's really not true. I can talk for myself of being in, when I say bad relationships, when I compare to what I'm in now, the bad relationships, right? And because they didn't work for me, they didn't serve me, they didn't even serve the women I was with, if I'm honest, And a lot of that was due to my own behavior. If I'm honest, I think, being super responsible, it's like I like to be, it's like, my own behavior. And what I was doing was I was thinking how I was acting. And for a long time, I believed that, because that's what I've had, that's how relationships are. And for a while, I was like, relationships don't work. I don't want to be in relationships. And then I started to see that I could make small and subtle shifts and changes. It took me a number of years. Really had a relationship before also that really helped with that. Always deeply grateful to my ex-partner for just being open to me and allowing me to be open to love and a good relationship. That was one thing that really helped. But before I met her, I was really at the point where I was like, relationships don't work. I can't be in a relationship. They're always full of stress and turmoil and negativity and upset and conflict. And I don't want that in my life. I want an easy life. I want a good life. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things that I did here. And bear in mind, I'm going to talk about big ideas, and they're going to sound simple and easy, but they're things that take everyday action, every month action, and to be uncomfortable sometimes. So one of those things is to have an idea of the sort of relationship you want. Start to build a picture, not just in your mind, but also on a piece of paper, the sort of relationship you want, the sort of feeling you want to have inside the relationship, the sort of things you want to be doing with yourself. For example, with myself, I wanted a relationship which was allowed for my own freedom as a man. And when I say freedom, don't just insert the word sexual before that, because that's not always the case. My own freedom of expression, my own freedom to spend time with friends and family as I wish and when I wanted to, freedom to be me, to say the things I say and not be judged and not be shamed for that, and not be shamed for my past. These are all things I wanted inside a relationship. I wanted to have adventurousness and playfulness. I wanted some maturity in dealing with conflict. I wanted a relationship that was about growth and adventure and expansion, right? So I really focused on that. I started to put that down. I had it written down. I have a note in my phone that had all the things I wanted in a relationship. And then I started to get an idea of the sort of woman I wanted to be with, right? So I started to think of the values and traits, and I skipped the superficial shit, right? Don't be like, I want her to look like this and blah, blah, blah. Which I did actually. I tell a lie. I had a note in my phone, and I kind of did a bit of a cyborg thing that I often joke about. Is like I thought of all these wonderful traits of women I'd met and dated in the past, and I put them all into one note. And so I had an idea of the things I wanted in someone. Traits, what I wanted them to look like, wanted them to be like, the sort of things they do with their life, the sort of way they carry themselves and all these things. So I did all that stuff. So I had a clear picture. I had an understanding. I had a goal. I had a vision. And I call it not necessarily a goal, because goals can be very grabby, hold on to them. I had a picture of what I want this to look like, right? And then the next part of the process I recommend is letting go of that. Hold that in your mind, but don't be attached to it. Like, it has to happen that way. The person has to have blonde hair. The person has to be 5'9". The person has to be any of those things become troublesome, right? Especially with the superficial things. It's not their values, right? The deeper values and who they are. Someone who is adventurous is about growth. Someone who is wanting to expand and live a life of expansion, right? Those things you can kind of say, yeah, those, because they're deeper values and they show up in different ways in different people, right? Whereas, these superficial things, if I'm honest, they're bollocks. Like, if you get stuck at this, level one of, oh my God, she has to be hot, and if she's not hot, then, she can't be with me, I can't be with her. You're immature. Ultimately, you have a lot of maturing to do as a human being, because we are our physical bodies, then we are our minds, and then we are spirits inside. And if you can't see past looks, right? If you can't see past that and see some deeper beauty in somebody, then you have maturing to do. Or there's a fact that you might be, you're still really stuck on judgment or other people think. And, if you need to see some help with that maturing, you come to me, I can help you with that. It's definitely something I've matured through over the years. And I don't mistake that for attraction. You can still be attracted to someone who you don't instantly look at and think, oh my God, they're like super hot model, whatever. You can still be attracted. There's the two different things. So then the next step is to cultivate happiness in yourself. Start to work on yourself, look at your own life. Like, what are you unhappy with? What do you want more of? What do you not enjoy about your life? And start working on those things. Because, ultimately your own happiness is really, really contagious. Like, this might sound a bit arrogant, but people always go to me, oh, you walk into a room and, people want to talk to you, girls want to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, because I walk in the room and I'm chill, I'm happy. I'm happy with who I am. And it's taken me many years to be that way. It takes time. It's not an overnight thing. You're not going to get a coach and in 2 weeks you're going to be like, Don Juan or anything like that. It takes time, and you have to accept it takes time in the same way your career took time. So start to become happy with yourself, your own life. The next thing is to start to cultivate, and this kind of goes in that last point, is start to cultivate the values and traits you want in someone else in yourself. Because ultimately, a lot of the time we go, I want someone who is adventurous, is because we don't think we're adventurous, or we lack adventure in our lives, right? So we then project outwardly to say, okay, if I meet someone, they will fill up my adventurous cup and I won't have to do anything and I'll feel whole. So actually it's to start to be the things that you want in someone else. And that might be, like I said, adventurous. It might be artistic. It might be creative. Go do those things. Go engage in those endeavors, right? You might want to be more spiritual. You're going to go and do those things, and don't expect them to do it as someone else. Just go alone and do the things alone. Like, develop that happiness on your own. Develop that muscle as well. And then the next thing is to give yourself the sort of relationship you want as well. So say, for instance, you want a relationship that's sex positive. Okay, start finding yourself in sex positive places where people are open and honest and talk about sex in such ways, right? Start to give yourself those things. I know it sounds so cliche, but if you see what I've said is there's actually things you do, like with yourself, you have some lists, you have some ideas, and then you go out into the world and you action those things, right? It's thought, word, and deed. You think of something, think of the sort of partner you want, you speak out the sort of partner you want, and then you start doing the actions to meet the sort of partner you want. But you have to be out in the world. You have to be taking action. Like, the world's opening up again. So there's so many events happening again you can get involved in. There's so many people you can speak to, and this is where I don't plug coaching that much, but it's like, this is where coaching is really useful, because you can only see what you know to exist. And when you speak to someone who their lens of possibility is wider than yours, their experience is wider than yours, you are able to then tap into that lens. It's like if you've got a good friend who is a billionaire businessman and you're trying to start your own business. If you're sitting on your own thinking, how am I going to start my business? I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. If you speak to your billionaire friend and say, yeah, I'm trying to start a business and do X, Y, and Z, he will ask you questions which will make your mind expand by just asking you questions, because he will make you think of things you wouldn't have thought on your own. And that is the power of like coaching and mentorship. So enroll people in helping you. Like, don't just think, oh, I have to solve this on my own. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a man. Men have to do everything alone. Or, you're a woman and you feel ashamed. It's like there is every successful person around you is getting help from someone, if not multiple people, right? It really is the case. Everybody is. And it allows you to expand when you involve other people, right? Enough on that part. But it's really important that you start getting a clear idea. Like I said, a clear idea of the relationship you want, the person you want. Start to cultivate happiness in your own life. Do your own self-work. Look at your own, whether that is therapy that you need to do with, maybe you need to go and do some, I don't know, just working on your own trauma and what's gone on with you, right? It could even be massage. It could be energy healing. It could be all sorts of things, right? Sexual healing. If you look through the podcast, there's a lot of episodes around these sorts of things. So if it's any of those things, you need to do that. You can't just leave those things. You can't, anything that's going wrong in your life that you blame other people for, it's not their fault, it's you. Yeah? And I know that's not an easy message. I know if I had a message of like, oh my God, especially for guys, oh, all women are useless, all they want is men with money and blah, blah, blah. That'd be an easy message to swallow because it makes you blameless and there's nothing you can do about it. But ultimately, it's not true. If you keep running into, and this is a side note, right? If you keep running into men or women who are all about money, it means that you have some maturing to move up to because you're still attracted to those people. There's something about them that attracts you, right? There's some wound that has it. Maybe you didn't grow up with money. You didn't grow up with security in your life, or you don't believe you can have your own money, right? It might be financial. It might be the flashy things that they create for you. And it's a maturity thing, it's a maturing that needs to happen, right, through life. I feel like I ranted a bit there, but it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. How not to end up in a wrong relationship. Because the last thing I'll say is this, is you get to choose the style of relationship that you create. There is no blueprint for how every relationship must be. I did an episode with a guy, Roy, I can't remember his name. Apologies. We talked about polyamory, right? And in that episode, he really we both talk about how you can basically design your relationship how you want it to be. It is your choice. No one can forces you to be in a relationship you don't want to be in. It's only when you choose to stay in a relationship, right, that doesn't serve you, that it feels that way. And you always have the choice of leaving a relationship. That's always there for you. So it's really important to just have these things in place, have an idea of what you want it to be like, what you want to feel like inside the relationship, sort of levels of freedom and stuff like that you want. Because, like I said, even if you're in a monogamous relationship, not all monogamous relationships are the same. I know monogamous people who swing. I know monogamous people who have threesomes from time to time. I know monogamous people who go on holidays separately. I know monogamous people who go to festivals together and alone. All these things can be how your relationship can be. You can keep having adventurous sex. I run workshops for couples and they come and they learn new things about sex and sexual intimacy and they evolve. This is the sort of relationship you can create if you choose to do so. So if you've enjoyed this, please share this video. If you're watching the video, if you're listening to the podcast, please share the podcast with a friend, someone who needs to hear this. Because we all know someone who needs to hear this message, whether they're man or woman, it makes no difference. So please share widely and freely. And yeah, if you're interested in finding me on Instagram, at @theauthenticman_. And yeah, if you need any help with anything else, coaching, something like that, you can hit me up on my email, which is hello@theauthenticman.net. Ciao, ciao.